Hello everyone, I am Datta from Ixpoe. Welcome to our channel. The topic which we'll be studying today is food chain. For the introduction, a food chain explains which organism eats another organism in the environment. The food chain is a linear sequence of organisms where nutrients and energy is transferred from one organism to other. This occurs when one organism consumes another organism. It begins with producer organism, follows the chain and ends with decomposer organism. After understanding the food chain, we realize how one organism is dependent upon another species for survival. All food chains may not process if there is absence of bacteria on the earth. What is a food chain? Food chain refers to the order of events in an ecosystem where one living organism eats another organism and later that organism is consumed by another larger organism. The flow of nutrient and energy from one organism to another at different trophic levels forms a food chain. The food chain also explains the feeding pattern or relationship between living organisms. Trophic level refers to the sequential stages in a food chain, starting with the producer at the bottom, followed by primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers. Every level in a food chain is known as a trophic level. You can see the video on trophic level, which we have discussed about every aspect of a trophic level. The food chain consists of four major parts, namely the sun. The sun is the initial source of energy, which provides energy for everything on the planet. Second comes the producer. The producer in a food chain includes all green plants. This is the first stage in a food chain. The producers make up the first level of a food chain. The producers utilize the energy from the sun to make food. Producers are also known as autotroph as they make their own food. Producers are any plant or other organism that produce their own nutrients through photosynthesis. For example, green plants, fruits, phytoplankton, small plants, and algae are some of the examples of producers in a food chain. Next comes the consumers. Consumers are all organisms that are dependent on plants and other organisms for food. This is the largest part of a food web as it contains almost all living organisms. It includes herbivores, which are animals that eat plants, carnivores, which are animals that eat other animals. Parasites are those organisms that live on other organisms by harming them, and lastly, the scavengers, which are animals that eat dead animals or carcasses. Here, herbivores are known as primary consumers and carnivores are secondary consumers. The second trophic level includes organisms that eat producers. Therefore, primary consumers or herbivores are organisms in the second trophic level. Next comes the decomposers. Decomposers are organisms that get energy from dead or waste organic material. This is the last stage in a food chain. Decomposers are an integral part of a food chain as they convert organic waste material into inorganic material like nutrient rich soil or land. Decomposers complete a life cycle as they provide nutrients to soil or ocean that can be utilized by autotrophs or producers, thus starting a whole new food chain. Now comes to the type of food chain. There are two types of food chain, namely detritus food chain and grazing food chains. Let's look at them more closely. Detritus food chain. The detritus food chain includes different species of organisms and plants like algae, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, mites, insects, worms, and so on. The detritus food chain begins with dead organic material. The food energy passes into decomposers and detrivores, which are further eaten by smaller organisms like carnivores. Carnivores like maggots become a meal for bigger carnivore like frogs, snake, and so on. primary consumers like fungi, bacteria, protozoans, and so on are detrivorous, which feed on detritus. Next comes the grazing food chain. The grazing food chain is a type of food chain that starts with green plants, passes through herbivores, and then to carnivores. In a grazing food chain, energy in the lowest trophic level is acquired from photosynthesis. In this type of food chain, the first energy transfer is from plants to herbivores. This type of food chain depends on the flow of energy from autotrophs to herbivores. As autotrophs are the base for all ecosystems on Earth, the majority of ecosystems in the environment follow this kind of food chain. Now let us look at the grazing and detritus food chain. Thank you so much. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For any inquiry, please write down in the comment section below. We will try to answer all your questions. And please visit the links which are appeared in your screen so that you can see the previously uploaded videos. Thank you.